I have to read this, hold on. As required by law, the town may audio or video record this meeting. Any person intending to either audio or record this opening session is required to inform the chair. Is anybody? No, all right. Okay, our first thing here then is to go over the minutes. Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes? And does anybody have any comments? I'll open it up to Kevin first.
I do not have any comments about the minutes from our last meeting.
Okay.
No comments.
Matt?
No comment.
Ron? And I have no comments. Do I have a motion to accept?
I motion to accept the meeting minutes from January 18th.
Seconded.
Second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ron?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then I believe Katie is up next.
All right, so the COVID update that was provided in the packet is a little out of date. We currently are only tracking 3 active COVID cases. Since the update came out, there was an announcement at the state level that the state has reduced its advisory regarding face coverings. I did email the board blind copy the update from the state. Basically, it no longer recommends masks indoors unless an individual is at a higher risk for severe disease, if they're unvaccinated, to still continue wearing face coverings, or if it's required at the federal level, which is transportation, medical venues, and other certain settings such as nursing homes, hospitals, healthcare. This is not to be confused with the school district update that was also announced recently. The governor did come out with an announcement that as of February 28th, schools have the option to rescind mask mandates. That's not this board's purview, that's the school committee's purview, and that would not be impacted. The board would not be impacted by the 28th. All in all, numbers are looking much better. That's my COVID update.
All right, so then we have to look at I guess we'll do one at a time. We'll go back to December 29th, 2021 advisory recommendation use of masks, whether we want to continue that or rescind that. Matt, do you have any thoughts or comments on that? To keep it or rescind it?
Kevin, right?
Kevin,
You're
I'm
looking at
sorry,
me.
I'm sorry, Kevin.
Now, as far as the emergency mask order that we did on January 18th, where we required them to be worn in town-owned buildings, I would be comfortable at this stage rescinding that requirement.
Okay, all right, we'll go to that one.
Oh, did you want?
Matt?
The advisory, I think we should keep, but for the mask order in town buildings, I think we should put it to the departments and let them decide whether they feel they can, if they need it or not.
All right, let me say, you're saying the departments.
Each whatever department head, water department, whatever department is inside that building, per se.
All right. Do you have any comments on that?
I think we should rescind it back to advisory.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. So, do we have a motion on the one for January 18th? Somebody wants to make a motion?
I motion to rescind the public health emergency mask order initiated on January 18th, 2022.
Have a second?
Second.
All right. Vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ron?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so that one's rescinded. Then the one that goes back to December 29th.
What was the effective date on that?
The other, which one? The first
For
one?
the rescind, is it immediate tomorrow? What day would you like it rescinded?
Oh,
Today.
today.
Today?
Today.
Today or tomorrow? Which one?
Okay, sorry about that.
You just amend the motion, effective.
Oh. Effective
You want to make it tomorrow for you?
tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Sure.
All right,
Does your second accept that room?
Second, yes.
second,
And then
and then the vote?
we vote?
Voted aye.
Right.
Aye.
And just to point out too, that original mandate did rescind all the other mandates that you
Oh,
had in place.
Okay, so we don't have to do them separately?
No.
No, so the advisory you would still do separate, but just if you, that mandate took control of all the mandates
Takes
that
two
we
of them.
had,
Yeah.
so.
All right, all
December
right,
and January.
all right, that took care of the both of them. We didn't say that, though. Do we have
This
to?
order supersedes any other emergency order that
Okay.
you had, so.
All right,
That would be Board of Selectmen meetings, masks wouldn't be required anymore, basically.
all right, okay. All right, so now, we're at D.
Yeah.
All right, this is the Board of Health discussion
Oh,
on
nope, so sorry, Sharon, you do have to do the advisory too. There were two separate, the mandate and
That's
then-
what all
Yeah.
right, oh, all right, sorry.
That's all right.
I thought we were going to have to do that. All right, then the advisory, which is December 29th. All right,
As far as the advisory goes, you know, I, as comfortable as I am rescinding, making them mandatory in town-owned buildings, I feel that it would be a disservice to at least not advise people to keep them on. It's not making any requirements, it's not putting anybody out, and it's still proven that it helps. And I think we should at least keep the advisement in place.
okay. Do you have any comments?
I'd like to uphold this advisement.
All right, do you have any comments?
No, I think the advisory is a great idea.
All right, I have a comment. I don't know about the social distancing because they're no longer talking about that. Do we want to keep that in there?
You could also adopt the updated state one if you wanted to put a policy in place that was closely related with the state. You could adopt the one that I emailed to you today.
No, wait.
Or if you want to amend the current one that you have in place, you're welcome to do that as well.
It might be just as easy to amend this one.
Sure.
I guess I would prefer to get rid of the distancing part. I don't have a problem with advising people to wear a mask if you're immunocompromised, if you're in indoors. But based on what came out, and I think I gave that to you, Katie, the one that came out today.
Yep, the one I emailed you guys, yep.
Yeah. No, the one I gave
Do you
you,
want your highlighted copy back?
that, I guess Baker came out with today. And that wasn't about the children, it was about,
Yep, that was the one I had sent you guys in an email.
oh, all right. The advisory regarding face coverings has been updated as of February 15th. Have you seen this one?
Not when I have not, no.
No, okay. Should I go ahead and read this?
If you want to,
Can we
sure.
vote on this one then?
Sure, you can read it.
All right, this came out February 28th. All right, this is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This will be a little lengthy. The Department of Public Health urges all eligible residents to get vaccinated and to stay up to date on COVID vaccines. Recognizing that Massachusetts is a national leader in vaccine acceptance and in light of recent positive progress on COVID-19 indicators, the Department of Health now advises that a fully vaccinated person should wear a mask or face covering when indoors, not in your home, if you have a weakened immune system, or if you are at an increased risk for severe disease because of your age, underlying medical condition, or if someone in your household has a weakened immune system, is at increased risk for severe disease, or is unvaccinated. For individuals who are not fully vaccinated, it is important that you continue to wear a face covering or mask to help prevent you from spreading COVID-19 to other people. Individuals who are considered close contact or who have tested positive must follow the isolation and quarantine guidance, which includes wearing a mask in public for 5 days after they leave isolation or quarantine on day 5, regardless of vaccination status. All people in Massachusetts, regardless of vaccination status, are required to continue wearing face coverings in certain settings, including transportation and healthcare facilities. So in lieu of the 6 feet distance, what's the feeling on this one?
I feel that's worded very well, understanding the CDC guidelines for the 5 days. If you're still symptomatic, it's another 5, but if you're asymptomatic, you have to wear the mask for another 5 days. I'm in total agreement with following those CDC guidelines. I
Okay.
think we can accept the advisement as the governor has put it forth.
All right, Matt? I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if we want to use that as a, replacement for
as
this,
our guide, yeah.
or to update the language. yeah.
Ron,
Same thing.
okay?
So you want to
All right, shall I make a motion?
adopt the latest advisory effective tomorrow? Is that what you want to do?
I
Or immediately?
motion to adopt the latest mask advisory put forth by the state of Massachusetts, effective February 16th.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second? Okay, we're going to vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
You can keep that. I have.
All right, okay. All right. Now we can move on to, where do I get my, the fuel storage.
So unfortunately, we didn't have, the 2 fire representatives weren't able to make it this evening. We did email you a copy of their proposed regulations. This is the same one that Dennis and Chatham have recently adopted. Basically, they're finding a lot of failures in oil storage tanks that are costing homeowners quite a bit of money when they do fail. They are able to answer any questions by email if you have questions on the provided regulation, but this is just an initial work session, and we'll be back in front of you in March. And they will be in attendance at that point.
All right, has everybody had a chance to look at this?
Yeah.
Okay, Matt, do you have any questions?
Kevin?
Kevin,
It's Matt.
I'm sorry about
It's
this.
all right,
Kevin,
it's all right.
Kevin.
No, I don't have any questions as to what is here in these regulations, not at all.
Matt?
Nope, and look forward to hearing
Ron?
them.
Okay, I do. Surprise. All right, on page 2 of this, and this has only came to my attention because of what I did with animal regulations. If you look at section 2, the definitions, they go into toxic and hazardous materials, the 2.1, and they actually get into organic chemicals, petroleum products, heavy metals, radioactive or infectious wastes, acids, alkalis, and include products such as pesticides, herbicides, solvents, and thinners. I don't feel that that falls under fuel storage regulations. If they're going to regulate, which is considered a regulation, I don't feel that that belongs in here. Other than that, the rest of it does have to do with the storage tanks.
So just that section C, the toxic or hazardous materials, A and B are okay?
I mean, it's only given a definition.
All right, this came up under animal regulations when I was working on these, and we did take it to John Eidman.
Fertilizer regs.
For the fertilizer, I'm sorry. No, it was the animal regulations where we didn't want to include all the other definitions.
The definition, yeah.
All right, am I right?
Yep, yep.
Okay. Basically, if you're not going to regulate it, that's not what this is saying. The front of this says fuel storage regulations. Fuel storage has nothing to do with infectious waste, herbicides, solvents, or pesticides. It's fuel. So those definitions don't apply to this regulation. So therefore, my feeling is it doesn't belong there.
Okay. I can certainly reach out.
Are they coming next week?
They'll be at the next meeting.
Next month?
But I
Yeah.
can definitely reach out ahead of time.
Why don't we wait until we can talk to them, maybe?
Correct, but this is going to be our regulation.
Oh, yeah.
We're the ones that are going to, this is falling under the Board of Health, that's why it's here. This isn't their regulation, they're writing it. We are going to be responsible for it. That makes it very different.
They would do the enforcing, just as a side note, but you're
Yeah.
right, it does fall under us.
It falls under us, and I just don't think,
I think if we're doing that, and I'm okay with taking the definition out, the toxic or hazardous materials. If we're doing that, I think we need to strike it out of section 1, where it, I mean, that's why it's in there. That's the whole reason we have that in definition, because, you know, under provisions of Chapter 111, Section 31 of the Massachusetts General Laws, the Harwich Board of Health hereby adopts the following regulations to protect the ground and surface waters from direct or potential contamination with a liquid, toxic, or hazardous material. So, I mean, that's why that definition is thrown in there, so if we could reword that second part of Section 1, we could effectively eliminate that definition. And I agree, if we are talking about just fuel storage,
Yeah.
you know, if we can reword, again, and how to reword it, that could be up for debate, but you know, if we're gonna take it out of the definitions, we should reword that as well.
All right, we'll bring that up with them when they, and we're having that in March.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, that's a question as well, but, so just be aware that when it comes back, that's something that we need to talk to them about. All right, so we're not voting or doing anything on that, correct?
Yep, this is just a work session.
All right.
No action necessary.
No action necessary, I like that. Okay. 3E is the Harwich fertilizer. That was the one, the last time, we asked to move some things around, and basically, this is what we had decided on the last time. If there are any further corrections or additions?
I have no further corrections or additions.
Okay.
I
Matt?
noticed one typo, we'll get it fixed in there when we do it.
Matt?
I have no comments.
Ron? And I have no comments. So, do I have a motion to adopt this?
Motion to adopt the Town of Harwich fertilizer policy guidelines.
I second the motion.
All right, do I have a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
So I can get those up on the website.
Yes.
We have kind of a placeholder for the time being, but we can get
And
that up.
then, can you send a copy of this also to Dan that he was asking about? Because I
Yes.
said
Yep.
I would ask you to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And then, Larry, I had asked, when we talked about this on that Saturday, were you there Saturday morning? No. Fertilizer came up when we were discussing what were we meeting at on?
CWMP.
Yeah, the CWMP, all right, and wastewater. And a lot of the people had some questions regarding fertilizer, because that is in the CWMP. So once we come up with this, and until Dan works further on this with whoever he's working with at the commission, this is what's going up on our website. So I mentioned to Dan that since the people that are looking at wastewater are looking for fertilizer regulations under wastewater, whether he can put that in on his website, and he said he would do that. Then the question came up, can we also put it on the town website, since we're coming into spring, and people may be looking for guidance on what to do with fertilizer, can we put it where it's easily located? Now, I don't know if we have to go through the board to put that on the
I can do that at the staff level.
all right.
Yep.
So, all right, so that was the other question about putting it there as well. Okay. Okay. All right, our next discussion is the animal regulations that I was working on. And this, again, is going to be just a discussion because we're just getting started with this. I had come up with a very lengthy one, and then I gave it to Katie, and John Eidman were looking at this, and we cut it back to what came in your packet. However, I did give you a copy of the lengthy one that I had put together, and until we meet with them, and I think Katie's going to put together a meeting with the Agriculture Commission?
So, right, so this evening really needs to be a very initial draft, not even a draft, it needs to be an initial thought process of the board.
Discussion.
Of what is your intent with these revisions? What is your interest in changing the regulations? So this really, tonight needs to be kind of the path that the board wants to take moving forward in order to direct. If we want to invite the Ag Commission at the next meeting, which I think is a great idea, we can vote to invite the Ag Commission to have a joint work session. Obviously, our ACO, we'd want to have some input from. But tonight really needs to be the initial discussion of the board on what your intent for the regulation is.
Now, I don't know if you want to go into this or if you want me to touch on it, because what I did was looked up the regulations, and I included in the one that I did all animals, all farm animals. Since Harwich is a right-to-farm town, I included every animal that they listed in the state regulations, and that included the animals, how they had to be kept, how they had to be fed, how you had to take care of everything. What we got back from John was that by doing that, we don't, this is where this thing with the fuel came up. We don't regulate those animals. All we are regulating is what the barns for the horses.
Right now, we only regulate stables, and technically, the board voted for pigs, but we haven't started doing that.
Right, so that's where I started out with, and we've cut it back to just include those two animals. I had a whole list of those definitions, all right, and you'll see that in the packet that I gave you.
So I also want to make sure the board knows too, before we go too farther, sorry not to interrupt, we do have many other regulations that we can still enforce. We do have odors, nuisances, rodents, noise, that wouldn't necessarily be in our regulations, but are still state regs that we are able to enforce.
Right, but that doesn't fall under the animal regulations.
It wouldn't be that reg per se, but it would
Yes.
still be an enforceable regulation.
Right, so does that have to be in here?
It doesn't, but you could, if you wanted to include it as a note, you could certainly do that. But it doesn't have to be in your regulation in order for us to enforce.
All right, so then maybe what we need to do is looking at the one that came in your packet versus what, the big one that I did, with what Katie said, till we have a discussion with,
Really, I think the first discussion needs to be, what is the intent on the reg? What do you want to happen as a result of the regulation? Do you want to increase regulation? Do you want to, what is the path that what are you interested in as the outcome? Is it strictly public health? Are you only looking at water, pest management? I mean, what is the main intent, so we know the direction that the board wants to go?
I think for the Cape, water, is like one of the main driving points
Manure
for this.
management
Make
would
sure
be
the
a big
aquifer
part.
is okay.
Water waste management, want to certainly maintain the people's rights to raise these animals, but at the same time, protect the natural resources that we have here.
so you're gonna be looking at the waste management from the animals.
We can certainly go that route.
Now, if we put that in there, then my question comes back to what we were saying before. If we put it in there, now, we're not calling this a regulation, we're gonna call it a policy.
No, that could be a regulation. So we wouldn't be permitting, say, sheep, for instance. It's not that we'd be permitting sheep, but if we ever got a complaint about their manure, then we would have something to fall back on.
All right, then maybe we need to include some of that. All right, so keep that in mind then, when we start to consider what we want to do with this policy, because we're not going to call it a regulation. We aren't going to call it a regulation,
It can be a regulation.
then that's going to be separate from this.
So your regs,
See, we're not going to call it animal regulations, are we?
this is an animal regulation.
Then that has to go to
Bylaws have to go to town meeting.
just the bylaws. All right, so we can do a regulation.
Board of Health, yep, can create your own regulations
All
through
right.
public hearing
All right.
process.
And we couldn't put it in there. All right, so maybe we need to think about putting some of that stuff back in.
Yeah, I mean, it would be something that I would love to speak with the Agricultural Commission on. In fact, I reached out to Jeff Brown after our last meeting.
Yeah.
I know he was planning on having a meeting this month. He didn't get back to me if they have had that or if they're planning it yet. And I would love to really sit down and talk to the people who it's gonna affect, the greatest.
Yeah.
At the same time, wanting to again, ensure their rights and their ability, want to protect wastewater, but also, the public, with the distances between abutting properties and everything else, I want to make sure that somebody raising farm animals next door isn't affecting the quality of life of somebody else here on the Cape as well.
Yeah, I would agree. Do you have any other, do you have some, all right. The only other thing I wanted to say, my concern was that when I spoke with Jeff, was they were looking for guidelines. They want to know what they can do with, if you're raising sheep, if you're raising pigs, raising chickens. What guidelines do they need to follow? Now, are we going to give them, we're not going to, see, I come back to this, we're not going to regulate it. Then how do we give them guidance on what they can and can't do?
What are they doing right now?
Nothing. That seems to be the issue, like,
So there still are the other provisions, so if there is a problem, there are ways around that as well.
all right, then that's something I guess we'll have to maybe discuss with
At the
them.
next meeting, I can bring in some of the other provisions that we do have at the state level, in terms of nuisances.
All right, all right.
There's other avenues.
Because I know when I spoke with him, that was the concern is, if they want to do something a little more commercial, they want to, raise pigs to sell them, or, butcher them and sell them, or sell the pigs or the chickens. What can they do or what can't they do? And right now, we don't have anything written.
Right.
And
For the
that was
piggeries.
the concern. What can we do or what we can't do? And some of them are waiting to move forward until we have,
So piggeries is one that you would permit, and that is in
yes,
here.
yes. So, that's all I had dug up on this so far. I guess really I think the next step is to speak with them before we get any even public comment on this.
Yep, today really should just be what your interest is in the regulation and what avenues are you looking to enforce and the intent behind the regulation.
All right, Ron, do you have any thoughts about what you think should be or not be?
Well, I think what Matt brought up is water. The excrement, or what do we do
Manure.
with that? How far from a neighbor's property
Mhm.
are you gonna be? In other words, the neighbors of the people that have the farms, what are their thoughts?
Mhm.
Okay, so it's a larger piece than I think what,
Now, I do have in those regs, I do have some boundaries, setbacks that are listed in there.
Yeah.
And then we'll have to discuss that with the Agricultural Commission, see what their feelings are on that.
do we bring the agricultural people in?
Yeah, so at the end of this discussion, I'll have you vote to direct me to invite the Agricultural
That's what I
Commission
think
we
we
should
should
to
do
have
next.
a joint work session at the next
That
meeting.
would be
Yeah, I know one thing. Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. In regards to piggeries, I was looking at, it's one per, acre, basically 40,000 square feet. But is that like one, it's worded differently on both of these. If we're looking on the one that you gave out, the minimum lot size, no animal shelter should be located on a lot having less than 40,000 square feet unless granted. And then if you go back and look at the town of Harwich, the animal regulations that have been sent in, we have no more than one pig for 40,000 square feet. So are we telling them they can only have one structure or one pig? That's part of what I would like to discuss with them, is what's their concept, what's their purpose for raising these pigs, and can more than one pig, if they have one, stall and they're all maintained properly, be kept on a land of less than, or 40,000 square feet, provided they have enough space. I would feel like more than one pig would be reasonable, depending on, as long as everything is maintained, with the neighbors and the waste products. It is just something that I would love to, again, discuss with them present and really find out what they're looking for.
This is definitely gonna be a step-by-step process. We
Yeah.
really wanna have careful consideration for that whole
Can we
process.
provide them with our draft
I can give them both copies.
so that they
absolutely.
have something to look at when they come in.
Yep.
All right. All right, so any further discussion? Do I hear a motion for Katie to,
Invite the agricultural,
Make a motion
The
to
March meeting.
have a joint meeting, discussion with the Agricultural Commission.
Second that motion?
okay, vote?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Let me see where we are. All right, so now we're going to the old unfinished business. And the first one on the agenda is, the 38 Lincoln Village Road. I'm going to open up the hearing for 38 Lincoln Village Road on February 15th at 7 o'clock. Hold on one second till I... All right. All right. Do you want me to go through all the variances?
So you have to read the whole thing, the continued hearing, Faulkner 38.
I mean, all of these,
Did you read that part?
just the comments.
Nope, for the legal ad.
Down here on this, all right, okay. All right, this is a continued hearing for 38 Lincoln Village Road to consider variances to upgrade an existing failed septic system to a Title V septic system. Plan prepared by Dan A. Speakman Construction Application also shows a proposed family room and garage addition on the first floor and proposed addition and storage addition on the second floor. The vote to accept, Denny, or take this under consideration, continued from January 18th, 2022 meeting.
It continues, and then the request.
Oh, wait. All right, where are you seeing the request?
Variances from 310 CMR 15 to
Okay,
11
no, wait.
setbacks.
Oh, wait. All right. I'm not sure where you're looking.
Do you want me to just do it? Is that easier? It starts at the next page on the agenda.
On the-
on your agenda.
Oh, all right, that was what I was asking, if you needed these, okay. Per 310 CMR 1520-211, to allow a proposed soil absorption system to be 15 feet from the foundation where 20 is required, so the variance request is 5 feet. Per 310 CMR 15-211, to allow a proposed soil absorption system to be 6 feet from the property line where 10 is required, so that's a variance of 4 feet. Per 310 CMR 15-211, to allow a proposed septic tank to be 6 feet from the property line where 10 feet is required, the variance of 4. And 310 CMR 15.211, to allow a proposed septic tank to be 9 feet from the foundation where 10 is required, that's a variance of 1 foot. Okay,
Good evening. I'm Attorney William Crowell from Harwich Board.
okay.
My office is directly across from this property. I could probably throw a baseball through the front window from my office. And I have seated with me one of the property owners, James Faulkner. His wife is not here this evening, and Dan Speakman from Dan Speakman Engineering. I was not at the previous meeting, but before we begin, perhaps the chairperson or the health agent could tell me how many votes will be needed for a positive finding?
3.
3 out of the 4? Okay, thank you. And there's one point of confusion. It's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is not a failed system. It's not currently a failed system.
Correct.
Okay, so that the agenda says to
Oh,
con-
no, excuse me. It's cesspools. It is considered failed in Harwich.
Yes.
It would be failed if it was an inspection done, but this is a plan proposing a new system.
Cesspools are automatic failure in Harwich.
So, if the proponent chose not to go forward this evening, he still has a functioning system.
In terms of inspection, no. If he pulled a building permit, he would be required to upgrade. If he transferred properties, he would be required to upgrade.
Right. But if he doesn't ask for a building permit and he doesn't sell, then he still has a functioning system that hasn't failed.
He has a functioning cesspool that is not in hydraulic failure.
All right. Thank you. So as I said, I wasn't at the previous hearing, so forgive me if I don't know all of the details, but of that prior discussion. But as I understand it, what the property owner wants to do is to put the septic system on the south side of the house, away from Route 28, as opposed to on the north side of the house, closer to 28. And that the reason that he wants to do that is because he's considering retirement in a few years, and Mr. Speakman's plan shows a garage addition and a family room addition that the homeowners are thinking of doing when they get to the retirement stage. That's not something they're asking for right now, but they want to show what's in the future, what their future plans are for the property. Thus, the reason why they want to have the new system, Title V system, on the south side of the house, towards Lincoln Village, which would require the 5 variances. It's my understanding that if it was on the north side of the house, it would not require variances. It would meet all of the setbacks. However, obviously, from a common sense standpoint, from as far as the owners are concerned, they don't want to preclude their future addition, which would aid in their retirement. They've got currently a bathroom that, as I understand it, is 4 by 4.
Pretty much.
And they would want to have, do some internal renovations, not increase the number of bedrooms at all. 3-bedroom house, 3-bedroom house with a 4-bedroom system, they would not be increasing the number of bedrooms. I'm sorry, 4-bedroom house with a 4-bedroom system, so it's compliant as shown on the plans. There would be no, because they would not be increasing the number of bedrooms, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that would increase the flow, because flow is determined by bedrooms, as I understand it. So what we're doing is trying to look down the road a little bit for the benefit of the homeowner to say that it doesn't make sense to them to put the new system on the north side. They want to put it on the south side for the reasons that I just explained, and they know that if you did that and imposed granted variances, which I understand you're allowed to do, there's, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you need DEP review for variances as proposed for this system.
Correct.
So it's all up to the local board. It's all up to you in your discretion tonight as to whether this makes sense for this homeowner to put it on the north side as proposed, as opposed to the south side. And he knows he's got cesspools. He's trying to be responsible about the property that my family was in the construction business for 50 years, and it may be that we put the cesspools in back in the 40s or 50s or however long they've been there. But he's trying to be responsible and put in a new system, but not preclude his future plans to develop the property. So he would not be opposed to your usual restrictions, which say that you cannot increase the number of bedrooms, because 3 years from now, if we come back in, he would not be asking for bedrooms, it would be for the garage addition and the family room. And imposing restriction about not increasing the habitable space or no increase in square footage without coming back to this board for further review 2 or 3 or 4 years from now, coming back in with basically the same plan and saying, okay, here we are. Now we have a Title V compliant system, 4 bedrooms on the north side with the variances. We're back for your reconsideration of your orders of conditions that you would impose with the variance, and would ask that you allow for the addition at that time. That's a further discussion. You've got built-in review with those restrictions. They'd have to come back. And then you could say no at that point, or yes. But our argument would be, well, we're not increasing the number of bedrooms or flow. We are increasing the habitable space because of the family room, but they're cramped with what they have. They have very small space for the bathrooms, as I indicated, in the kitchen. So we're hoping that the board will look at the overall picture for the benefit of the property owner and not worry about, with all due respect, precedent, setting a precedent, because I do a lot of work in front of the Board of Appeals and the Planning Board, and they routinely say, we don't worry about precedent. We make decisions on each case on its own individual merits as to what we think is right and equitable for each case under the circumstances, not something that just by rote, we don't grant variances, period, unless you meet certain criteria. Here, I think it makes all kinds of sense to put it on the north side, grant the variances that are requested, they're dimensional only, and allow the property owner to have the ability to add on in the future and not preclude him at this stage. Thank you.
Okay. If I remember correctly, I think the issue came up with having the garage versus a compliant Title V. Am I correct on that?
They could have a compliant Title V if they didn't do the addition.
If they didn't what?
If they did not propose the addition, they could have a fully
All right.
compliant system.
I guess that's where the hangup is. And I
And
know
we
you may
acknowledge
not, I know you may not feel that we should have certain guidelines, but there are guidelines. All right? If we start going down the road of saying, all right, we're going to let you go, and you don't need you're going to rebuild or do new construction, and you don't have to have a compliant Title V system. What are we going to say to the next person, and the next person, and the next person?
That was my argument.
That's my argument.
I understand that, and
All
I
right?
respect
Now, wait,
your
let me finish.
Go-
Let me finish.
Thank you.
We have a problem here on Cape Cod. We only have so much water. We only have so much drinking water. All right? We're going through sewering. All right? We've got issues where there's low water levels. We are likely going to have possibly some problems with drinking water. So if we go down this slippery slope of starting to say, okay, we're going to let you go with this, when you could have a compliant Title V septic system just without the garage. I don't see a real problem with that.
With all due respect, the homeowner does, because he doesn't want you to throw the baby out with the bathwater and just say, okay.
Well, you know what? We have regulations for a reason.
I understand that.
All right, and if we start doing that, what are we going to say to the next person? What would you say to the next person?
When given the opportunity, I'll address that, if I may.
All right, well, we're going to address it now.
I'm asking for permission to speak without being interrupted.
Go ahead.
Thank you. What you say to the next person is that regulations give us guidance, but they are regulations that allow for discretion by the board to take into consideration, for example, whether these variances for this septic system would affect the drinking water. I don't think it would. It doesn't affect the flow because it's a 4-bedroom system for a 4-bedroom house. They're not asking to increase the flow. And he's trying to be responsible by saying, let's put in a Title V now where I want it and get rid of the cesspools. Seems to me that's an advantage for the drinking water folks and the protecting the environment folks, all of which I encourage and agree with. But I think that there is, in this situation, no detriment to the future detriment to the drinking water or to the environment, because there would be no increase in flow, and there's a lot of detriment to the homeowner because he can't put an addition on. So I don't think it should be simply that, oh, you can have a compliant system. I don't think the non-compliant system has any detrimental effect in this situation.
All right, I'm going to defer to you on, what's the difference when this is non-compliant? What does that,
The DEP claims that they've studied all of, I don't have any of the data in front of me, but it's from the DEP, and whether that's good data or not, it's from the state. So we're provided a code, and that's what we're given.
if we're looking at 310 CMR 15.401, all right, number 2. In general, full compliance with the provision of 310 CMR 15 is presumed to be necessary for the protection of public health, safety, welfare, and the environment. Any requests to vary from the standard of the 310 CMR 15 by means of a local upgrade approval or variance shall be carefully reviewed by approving authority and where required by the department. Proposals for new instruction for increase in flow to an existing system other than in full compliance with 310 CMR 15 through 15.293 must seek and obtain a variance from the approving authority. Okay. Goal of full compliance, wherever feasible, a failed non-conforming system other than systems threatening public health, welfare, or the environment as described in 310 CMR 15.304 shall be brought into full compliance. I guess my thing is to be fair to other people that are going to come before us and say, we would like to put a garage in, we'd like to put another bedroom in, but we can't have a full compliance system. And I don't think that's fair to say no to the next person.
I understand that.
So
But if I may, what you just read, if the board simply follows what the state mandates in its regulations, then the board has no discretion. To me, there's no sense of having a local board if there's no ability or no discretion to grant variances in certain situations. Now, that what you read also mentioned if there's to be an increase in flow. There's no increase in flow in this proposal.
no, but they're
So-
still saying a compliance system.
And I understand that you
It's
want a
new
compliant
construction
system,
or
but there's an
or
exception.
Well,
There is an exception in the regulations that talks about, under 15.412, review of variances by the department, and it says, no review by the department, by DEP is necessary when you have a plan that shows a system that is at least 10 feet from a soil absorption system on an abutting property, which we are, and we're not closer than 5 feet to any property line. So that's an exception where it says DEP doesn't have to be involved. It's all up to the local board. And then the other part of it, 15.402 says, subsection 2 says, proposals for new construction or for increase in flow to an existing system must seek a variance from the local approving authority and the department, except for the previous one that I just read. If you have a situation like we have here, the department does not need to be involved. As I said, it's all up to you, folks, and I understand you want to be fair to the public in general, but I'm asking that you consider being fair to this property owner in this particular situation, because this precludes his ability to have a garage, a family room in the future, because he has to have, if you say, well, he has to have, we're only going to allow a compliant system on the north side, then he might as well fold his tent, sell this house, buy a different house, and not look down the road towards retirement.
Correct.
So it does say wherever feasible. It is a self-created hardship. It looks like if the family room addition was removed and the garage addition was pushed back to the house, there still would be room for a compliant system. If they're doing the garage, it looks like they could do a family room above that without any variances, as long as it doesn't meet the definition of a bedroom.
I'm sorry, Ms. O'Neill, could you repeat that?
So my first comment to the board was that it is a self-created hardship. The code does ask for compliance when possible. With a self-created hardship, it is possible. It looks to me like if you remove the family room addition altogether and push the garage closer to the house, that it's very well possible that you can get a compliant system in there and then do a family room above the garage as long as it didn't meet the definition of a bedroom.
Where would the septic system go if you come closer to the house?
No, if you put the septic system on the north side, you got rid of the family room, put the garage right up against the house.
I see, and then put the septic between the garage and Route 28?
Correct.
Having a family room
Give us a minute.
upstairs, having a family room upstairs doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, a family room is where the TV goes and those kinds of things. And why would
And
we,
you can relocate bedrooms. If you wanted to do a bedroom above the garage and convert one of the existing first floor bedrooms into a family room, as long as it doesn't meet the definition of a bedroom.
Could I ask for a sense of the board as to their thoughts, their leanings in this case at this time without a formal vote, a straw vote?
Do you want to start with the comments?
I mean, I certainly appreciate the, bringing it up to date now, the system, and I get the water flow, we're not increasing the water flow. I understand that. Where there are multiple options to change slightly the plan here, the footprint, and still maintain what you're looking for down the road, I guess I'm a little on the fence, but as Katie just pointed out, if you move the garage, and I framed, I worked construction for years, having a room above the garage, changing that to bedrooms, and moving one of the other bedrooms that's currently in the house to a family room, seemingly, meets your needs. You're talking about wanting a family room on the first floor, not the second floor. That's seemingly compliant with what you're looking for down the road, and at the same time can still put a compliant system in.
there's a little more to that though, unfortunately, that downstairs, the way it's currently configured, we have a very small we have a bedroom and a very small 4x4 bath. There's no closet space in the bedroom. There's zero closet space in the bedroom and a 4x4 bathroom. So the existing, what you have on this plan as a bedroom right now would be to expand the bedroom in front of it to add closet space and to make a bathroom that was bigger than 4 foot by 4 foot, okay? So basically, to make it more livable in my retirement, okay? If we don't have the option to use that, if we have the option, if we have to do it and use that space there, then we don't have a space for a true family room, okay, in that regard. So, it just doesn't quite make sense to me personally, but, that was the reason for adding a small family room in behind that space, because that area that's considered bedroom now is really where we have our television and that kind of stuff now. That would disappear as we add closet space and a regular bathroom in the downstairs.
Okay. Could we hear from the other members?
Do you have any other, comments?
Yeah, as this application presents, I'm more inclined for denying it based on it's a self-created hardship.
Ron?
When do you wanna put all this stuff together? You want a whole package together?
What do you mean?
Well, you wanna put a garage in and you wanna put a bedroom or
Family room?
family
Family
room,
room.
okay? And you wanna change the septic to the north side,
Right.
correct?
Mhm.
So when do you want the whole package at once?
What, no, he was looking to have the board grant the variances to install the a new Title V four-bedroom system on the north side, put that in now. Get rid of the cesspools, all right? And then maybe several years from now, 2 or 3 years from now, when they retire, then come back for the actual garage and family room construction addition.
I have a home in Connecticut which we plan to sell, obviously at that point, use the proceeds from that sale to fund the additional steps that we would like to have for our home here in Harwich Board.
I'd be inclined to put the septic in, change that around, and then,
If he puts but if they put that on the north side, then it's not compliant.
The north side would be compliant, the south side is
I
not.
guess-
The south-
Ultimately, what we're
Oh,
looking
I
at
keep
right
saying the north side, sorry about that.
Yeah.
So if the system goes in now on the 28 side of the house, it can be compliant. If it goes in on the Lincoln Village Road side, that's where these variances come into place.
Correct.
Right.
That's correct.
Certainly, these variances, what they're requesting, we've approved greater variances. I don't have any problem with the numbers as far as that goes. Zero issues there. I think what it really boils down to is, are we allowing those variances where a system without variances could be put in place? And it is the one holdup. And looking at the garage addition, as you said, it's a theoretical plan there. I don't see anything set in stone, so to speak. The garage can be moved. The bedroom could be, the house, the extension could be put out, on that side. There's a lot of, framing construction work that could be done to still provide you with the extra space that you're looking for. And
We would lose the TV room, basically, or what we are currently using as a family room now. Okay, by making the changes to the bedroom, so we'd have closet space, and making changes to the bathroom. We would use that space. So I'm just proposing that we would be able to add another family room on the back side of that, so we pick up a TV room again, which we wouldn't have in this particular situation.
I think if I may, I think the benefit to the town as a whole is that if you grant the variances, a Title V system would be in place. If the sense of the board is, and certainly the sense I'm getting is that we don't have 3 votes in favor, is to pull the petition, withdraw it without prejudice, and then the town has cesspools there for the next several years.
We do, under Title V, have the right to request a Title V inspection at any point. We won't do that because you're here, but I just want that to
Thank
be
you.
clear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
I guess what I'm asking is this a definitive plan? And if you took some time to look at what the plan is, with Mr. Speaker, could you come up with a potential plan that would still allow a system to go in without any variances. A potential plan like you have here, but one that wouldn't require these variances,
Or at least would it-
solving all problems. Is that possible?
I think that what the homeowner is inclined to do is to withdraw without prejudice to consider those types of things.
I think if we could come up with a compliant septic system, if that can be, we're not opposed to variances. My concern is a compliant septic system. Not that you're going to do new construction and still not have a compliant system. Does not make sense to me. If we're going to redo this, you're going to redo whatever to get rid of to move in and get rid of the cesspool, then let's have a compliant septic system and try to design around that.
We hear the message.
Okay,
Yeah, we're not opposed to variances. We approve them all the time.
Well,
My
I-
concern is the septic system.
Well, I understand that, but it's kind of, it's somewhat contradictory to say, we're not opposed to variances, but we want a compliant system.
I don't find those to be inconsistent with one another. Maybe these variances, yes. I'm saying we approve variances all the time.
I'm aware of that, especially in campgrounds and tight quarters and so forth, where you have no choice. And I understand you're saying here, we have a choice, we could have a compliant system on the Route 28 side, so we will go back to the drawing board and withdraw without prejudice this evening and see what we can do.
fair enough.
All right.
At the
Alright,
staff
and
level, we're always happy to review floor plans for proposals too.
I'm sorry?
We're always happy to review proposal floor plans if you have any questions during the revisions.
And meet with you informally? Yes, okay. All right.
Okay,
Good.
I wish you luck. I really do. I really do.
Then- Could the board take a vote to allow us to withdraw without prejudice then, please?
Make a motion to allow the applicant to withdraw without prejudice.
Second.
Vote?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Where am I? Yeah. All right. Moving on to new business. Show cause hearing for the hearing to Harwich Pines Elliott. I think Katie has some information on that.
Yes. So this is a show cause hearing to discuss non-compliance with an order issued to upgrade a failed septic system. It was brought to the health department's attention that the property transferred ownership without a Title V inspection on August 6, 2021. We sent them a notice on September 1st, 2020. Oh, sorry, my mistake. Jumping the gun. So 2 Harwich Pines transferred without the benefit of an inspection. Since we issued them the letter, we've already received a application for the septic permit, so we have no concerns. We won't need to take any action on them this evening.
Okay. All right. And we don't have to do any voting or anything on that one.
Nope, you can just take it under consideration.
All right. Okay, the next one is show cause hearing for 1 Rebecca Road, Liberty. I have to get to that one. Hold on a second here. All right. I'd like to open up the public hearing for 1 Rebecca Road on February 15th at 7:34. Okay, it was brought to the attention of the Department of Health that the property located at 1 Rebecca Road transferred ownership, is that the right one?
That's the right one, yep.
Oh, okay. Well, I heard transfer of ownership on August 6, 2021. The transfer was done without benefit of a Title V inspection. On September 1st, 2021, The property owner was sent a notice of noncompliance and were offered to submit the Title V inspection report in accordance with Harwich Board of Health regulations. Said report was to be submitted to the Health Department within 30 days of receipt of the notice. The USPS records indicate that the notice was received on September 7th, 2021. On January 18th, 2022, the property was sent a notice to appear before the Board of Health at their February 15th, 2022 meeting. And the United States Postal Service records indicate that the notice was received on January 22nd, 2022. As of today, the Health Department has had no communication from the owner, and a Title V inspection report has not been submitted to the Health Department. Is there anybody here for that?
Nope.
No.
Is anyone available remote? Is anyone attendance remotely on the meeting? Can you please state your name?
You might be on mute.
Will the individual on the hybrid side of the meeting please unmute?
Can we ask them to?
I just, yeah, keep going. It might not be for this one, so if they're not gonna come off and mute.
So then what do we do with this?
We still keep going. We just act like,
We don't have to vote on doing anything then?
oh no, we still have to vote.
All right, all right, then just go right to your recommendations?
Yep, you can do that.
All right. All right, the recommendations from the health director. Either a passing title inspection needs to be submitted by the licensed inspector, or a copy of proof of engineering service agreement needs to be submitted to the health department within 7 days of this meeting, which would be, what is it?
22nd.
All right, February 22nd. Got somebody trying to,
Was that you or was that, yeah? Caleb, did you unmute someone? Did you?
No, I don't have control over the GoToMeeting.
Okay.
okay,
Have they had a fine yet?
Not yet, that's what this will do.
all right. If the system, number 2, if the system is in failure, the owner shall hire a septic installer and provide a copy of the service agreement to the health department, who will submit the application to install the upgraded septic system within 30 days of this meeting, which is, we'll come up with a date on that, March.
They received the first notice September 7th.
Okay.
So, I don't think they need more time. I think they should be.
Well, we give them with the 30 days of the meeting.
Yeah, the one thing that I would, first offense, a written warning. I feel like we've already given them that.
Yeah.
We officially have to provide a written warning, so that it has to actually state on the paper written warning. So once the board gives us permission, I can do the written warning tomorrow if you'd like to direct me to do
All right.
that.
Yes.
All right.
17th is 30 days out.
All right. Okay, if the system is in failure, the system upgrade should be completed within 45 days of the application approval. Failure to comply with any of these conditions will result in fines by non-criminal method in the district court pursuant to the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40, Paragraph 21D. For the purposes of this regulation, the following fine schedule will be imposed. First offense, written warning. Second offense, 50. Third offense, $100. Fourth and subsequent offense is 300. So we would go with the written warning.
So I can issue the written warning tomorrow, no matter what, but we would want to make sure that we did vote in the criteria, just to make sure.
All right. Do I have a motion?
Motion to pass the recommendations as stated,
With the provision that I'll write the written warning tomorrow.
with the provisions and written warning.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Just to clarify on that, if you issue the written warning tomorrow, and then they don't meet with this conditions, does that then count as the second offense, and they should be fined at that point?
Yes.
Then I would second that motion.
Okay. All right, vote.
Aye.
Aye. Ron?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. All right, let's see where we are with this. Okay, report of the health director.
Okay. So, we did advertise a full-time health inspector position. We've received a couple applications so far. We're obviously gonna leave it open for a little bit longer, but we're starting to go through all the applications we've received right now, which is very exciting. The order to connect sewer letters officially were mailed out. Applicants will submit an application that goes to the health department initially for review, and the abandonment permitting, get reviewed by conservation, and then routed to the sewer department for the official release of the permit itself. The example is included in your packet just to see what the letter looked like. It went out with an entire packet, list of installers, engineers. There's a lot of information, really good information in there for the homeowners. We recently have acquired OpenGov, which is an e-permitting software. We still have Acela, which is the current software we have for one more year, but we're gonna start transitioning over this next year and build in new permits that they can actually apply for online. So the board will need to vote at some point to have all permits done electronically, which is what we had done for the Title V submissions, that the board originally voted that they only be submitted electronically. So we'll every time we add a new permit into OpenGov, we'll have the board vote. And it's a really nice addition for the residents because it's much easier, much quicker. It'll be a transition period, but it'll definitely be a nice addition for residents and staff as well. And the last update is that Carrie, our senior health agent, and I will be taking our FEMA ICS 300 training. It's a multiple day training, so we're gonna start it in the end of February and it will go into March. And it's required by the state for our emergency management response. And that's my update.
So I have an update. The person online is the conductor of the Cape Community Orchestra and wanted to hear information about COVID restrictions. The board voted for the engineer to contact our office tomorrow and we can give her an update.
Sounds good. Thank you for that.
All right, anything else?
So you'll need to vote on the permits.
Oh, sorry. All right. All right, permits. Is there anything here that's, everything looks kosher. Do I have a motion to accept the permits?
Motion to accept the permits?
Second?
Second.
Vote?
Aye.
Aye. Yep, accepted. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye. Ron?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
All right, thank you.